Hey blues fans, I'm glad you made it. Welcome to another episode of This Week in the Blues. It's our weekly take on blues history. I'm your host, Jimbo Big Train Matson, with the blues band Big Train and the Loco Motives. And it's time to take a look and see what happened this week in blues history. Guitar Gabriel was born October 12th in 1925. His unique style of guitar playing, which he referred to as toot blues, combined Piedmont, Chicago, and Texas blues, as well as gospel. Now, by the age of 15, he traveled playing the guitar in medicine shows during the late 1920s. While he was with these shows, traveling around, he found his trademark white sheepskin hat. Also during this time, he performed with artists such as Bo Diddley, Lightnin' Hopkins, Chuck Berry, Muddy Waters, B.B. King, T-Bone Walker, and Jimmy Reed. R&B singer Nappy Brown was born October 12th in 1929. He began his career singing gospel music before switching to R&B. In 1954, he won a recording contract with Savoy Records, which yielded a string of hits. Now, Brown's powerful voice, combined with his distinctive emotive style, is widely viewed as a key link in the development of soul music. Bellowing the blues with gospel-inspired ferocity, Brown rode rock and roll's first wave for a few good years before his records stopped selling. Blues guitar player Kenny Neal was born October 14th in 1957 in New Orleans, Louisiana. Neal preserves the blues sound of his native South Louisiana, as you might expect from someone who learned from Slim Harpo, Buddy Guy, and his father, harmonica player Raffle Neal. He comes from a musical family and has often performed with his brothers. Blues guitar player Jimmy Liggins was born on October 14th in 1918 in Newby, Oklahoma. When he was in his teens, he moved with his family to San Diego, California in 1932. He fought under the name of Kid Zulu as a professional boxer until the age of 18, when he began as a driver for his brother Joe's band, the Honey Drippers. Liggins started his own recording career as a singer, guitarist, and leader of the group Drops of Joy. Blues singer and musician Edna Hicks was born on October 14th in 1891 in New Orleans, Louisiana. Her recorded songs include Hard Luck Blues and Poor Me Blues. She recorded Downhearted Blues and Gulf Coast Blues on the Brunswick label in 1923. She was popular in black vaudeville in the American Midwest in the late 1910s and 20s, appeared often in Chicago and Cincinnati, and made recordings for 7 different record labels in 1923 and 1924. James Son Thomas was born October 14th, 1936, near Eden, Mississippi. As a self-taught guitar player, he learned to play songs from older blues guitarists Elmore Davis and Arthur Big Boy Crudup. While working as a gravedigger, he was also a folk artist, making sculptures from unfired clay, which he dug out of the banks of the Yazoo River. His most famous sculpted images were skulls, which often featured actual human teeth, which mirrored his job as a gravedigger and his often stated philosophy that we all end up in the clay. Blues singer Victoria Spivey was born in Houston, Texas on October 15th in 1906. Spivey was one of the more influential blues women simply because she was around long enough to influence legions of younger women and men who rediscovered blues music during the mid-1960s blues revival. Spivey could do it all. She wrote songs, sang them well, and accompanied herself on piano and organ, and occasionally the ukulele. Delta blues guitar player Big Joe Williams was born October 16th in 1903. Now, he actually played a 9-string guitar. So he was born near Crawford, Mississippi, and as a young man began wandering across the United States, busking and playing in stores, bars, alleys, and work camps. During the early 1930s, Williams was accompanied on his travels through the Mississippi Delta by a young Muddy Waters. He later became a regular on the concert and coffee house circuits, touring Europe and Japan, and performed at major U.S. music festivals. On October 16th, 1953, "The Things That I Used to Do" was recorded by Guitar Slim in New Orleans, where the young Ray Charles arranged and produced the session. It was released as a single in 1953 and became a bestseller the following year. First released only to a southern U.S. rural audience, urban R&B stations in the North began airing the song and built it into a national hit. The single stayed on the Billboard Rhythm and Blues charts for 42 weeks. As a result, Guitar Slim became in great demand as a performer and played at venues such as the Apollo Theater in New York City. Mississippi Hill country blues guitarist and singer Jessie Mae Hemphill was born October 18th in 1923. Hemphill was born near Como, Mississippi, in the northern Mississippi Hill Country, just east of the Mississippi Delta. She began playing the guitar at the age of 7. Aside from sitting in at Memphis bars a few times in the 1950s, most of her playing was done in family and informal settings, such as picnics with fife and drum music, until she was finally recorded in 1979. Detroit blues, boogie woogie, and jazz piano player Boogie Woogie Red was born October 18th in 1925. He was born Vernon Harrison in Rayville, Louisiana, and moved to Detroit in 1927. In his teen years, he began performing in local clubs, and under the influence of local musicians Big Maceo and Dr. Clayton, Red taught himself piano, developing his keyboard style. When he was 18, he was drawn to the blues scene of Chicago, where he jammed with Lonnie Johnson, Tampa Red, and Memphis Slim. At different times, he also worked with Sonny Boy Williamson, Washboard Willie, Baby Boy Warren, and John Lee Hooker. Chuck Berry was born October 18th in 1926. Nicknamed the father of rock and roll, he refined and developed rhythm and blues into the major elements that made rock and roll. Born into a middle-class family in St. Louis, Berry had an interest in music from a very early age and gave his first public performance at Sumner High School. By early 1953, influenced by the guitar riffs and showmanship of the blues musician T-Bone Walker, Berry began performing with the Johnny Johnson Trio. His break came in Chicago when Muddy Waters suggested he contact Chess Records. Chicago blues artist Johnny Temple was born October 18, 1906, in Canton, Mississippi. He was most active in the 30s and 40s. He learned to play guitar and mandolin as a child, and in his teen years began playing at house parties. While in Jackson, Mississippi, he became friends with Skip James. He moved to Chicago in the early 1930s and started playing with Joe McCoy in the burgeoning Chicago blues scenes. Well, blues fans, we just covered some of the highlights here. Now, if you want to know more about these artists or other things that happened this week in the blues, be sure to follow our social media pages or visit our website at bigtrainblues.com. Now, we'll have a brand new episode next week, and we'll talk about R&B guitar legend Steve Cropper and Chicago blues guitarist Jimmy Dawkins. It's going to be an awesome show, so we'll see you then.